Hey, welcome to our show here tonight. Welcome to We'll Sing and We'll Shout. I'm your host, Steve Hansen, and I've got Cheryl and Dave on here with me tonight. I'm excited to be back. It was a really pretty crazy week working up on that roof. And so this is the first time I think I've done a real live, Cheryl, since like even Monday night, I was on the roof when you were talking. So I haven't like sat down and done a live since last Sunday,
Did you get the dang
which,
thing done? The roof?
well, I've got to get one more bundle of shingles just to finish up that one last little dormer area.
That
But
Wow.
was a big roof, man. I showed some people some pictures.
it
Yeah, that was
was it
crazy.
was it was like twice a normal residential roof, and the problem we had is we could only work on the one side like during the evening hours because it wouldn't take very many hours in the morning. I
It
mean,
would
like
be
by
too
9 or 10 o'clock,
hot.
it was already getting too hot up there. And it
Right.
wasn't so much that it was too hot to work; it was just the shingles would get so hot you would damage them. And so we would just try to stay off of them for the sake of the roof. But then my employees would need to go home at the end of the day, and and my kids weren't able to help me very much. So I ended up doing a lot more of that roof than I had planned on, and it took a lot longer for that reason.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, pretty rough.
employees like to go home.
Employees like to go home.
Dave,
Yeah,
are
and
you
there was
having tornadoes in Indiana? Because I've been seeing on the weather
Yeah,
there's nasty
some
things
bad
happening
ones.
there.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been driving through them with all the stuff I do. I've been driving through them. Yes.
Oh no. Are
so
you home safe now?
no, he's in the
Yeah.
middle of a tornado right now.
No,
Haha.
look at me. I can, hold on. What are you guys doing to me here? This is not funny. Is my
Sorry.
so
music too loud? I'll turn it down.
No, you sound fine.
yeah, you sound fine, Dave.
All right.
So, the purpose of these lives, it's really crazy, Cheryl, where this started 5 months ago. It was my original intent in doing this was to share, my health program, my unicity weight loss nutraceuticals, and it's morphed
I'm hearing some
into,
feedback from something.
yeah, that's Dave.
All right, hold on. I'll go turn it down.
We're gonna have
Jesus.
to turn him
Hold
down
on.
some. Um,
Hold on.
but but this whole thing has turned in so much more than that for me. I mean, I still feel so grateful for what this system has done in my life, and it's helped me out physically so much to not just lose weight, but just to feel so much healthier. And so I would sing the praises of this all day long. But there are so many more interesting things to share other than just sitting here talking about how much you weigh and how healthy you are. And
Well,
and I
I'm
just
listening
found
to
it
the journey right now, man. That's good stuff.
so I've just found it so meaningful to get in here and share these stories and talk about the past. But for me, this is really so much more a story about what's happening now, what's happening in my life now, and what's happening in the lives of those around me. And the stories of the past kind of lead into all that, but the real story is what's happening right here and now. And that's what I very much feel, and that's what I'm very much trying to share. So because I do think there's a lot of amazing things happening right now that could have happened in the past, and I'm just my objective this time is just not to mess it up this time, because I feel like so often I've messed up some really amazing things that could have happened because I just didn't understand. So that's my objective this time, is to not mess anything up, and let's see what can happen. So um but hey, today is Father's Day, and Cheryl and Dave and I each we all have this same amazing father that we want to share some stories about tonight. And I think I want to start off and let Cheryl, as the oldest, kind of lead the way here, and then Dave and I will come in with some inspiring thoughts and inspiring stories. Cheryl, is there a certain photo that you want me to throw up here first, like maybe this little one?
Yeah, you could
Uh,
throw up that one of me and Dad there.
yeah. So tell us what's going on there.
So I was my dad graduated from Ohio State, and then I think he got his master's from Ohio State as well.
Yes,
But
he
when he
did.
went to get his doctorate, he went out to University of California, Davis. So that's where this picture is, because Mom and Dad were in California when I was born, and Steve was born in California as well. So Dad was getting his schooling there, and so I believe this is married student housing, because Mom and Dad owned a home in California in, mm, I don't know if it was in Davis or just close by to Davis, but anyway, they owned a cute little home. Um, but because of our mother's mental illness, my dad ended up having to sell that sweet little home, and they ended up moving into married student housing. So I believe that's where this picture was taken, and I'm almost positive this would be Easter Sunday because our mother used to make a big deal about Easter Sunday, especially for me. I don't know about you boys, but I used to have to get an Easter dress and get the bonnet and the purse and everything. I mean, this went on until I was probably a senior in high school. I always had to have an Easter dress. So,
No, I
you know,
totally believe it. I totally believe
yeah, you know how
it.
the Cunninghams were about getting
Hey,
dressed up for
hey, check out Dad's part. Look how far on the side it is.
Oh
That's
yeah,
so
that is
nice.
kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so
And
I'm
is
guessing
that,
that we're off to church on Easter Sunday. And so I have this little yellow dress on, and I have the pink coat with the pink hat and the little purse. And I actually still have both of those pieces of clothes. I have all that, except for the purse. I have all that clothing um, in a box, you know.
Right.
I
you
just
don't
put it
wear
back.
that?
No, I don't wear it. It's in a box somewhere, but I do still own that whole outfit
Is
because
it, is it,
me being a costumer, clothes are important to me. So
oh,
like
sure.
anything my kids got their pictures in, I still have that piece of clothing. So they kind of think it's ridiculous, but
You should
whatever.
put. You should try to put it on them. Is that blue suit that Dad always had, or is that just a dark
I
black
think
one?
that's the suit that Ben got his senior pictures taken in.
Is that blue suit? Dad always had that dark blue suit, man. He wore all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I know Ben got his senior picture in the same suit that Dad had gotten his senior picture in, something
I
like that.
didn't. I didn't know that. No,
Yeah.
that's new to me.
Yeah, I'm almost positive. You could ask Ben, but I'm almost positive that Ben got his senior picture
Well,
taken in Dad's suit.
that's a really
So,
cool thing that Ben did.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they did look the most alike as far as, when Ben was a senior and he had the dark hair and everything. Now I don't have
Right,
any
right. And
hair,
then
but
it all fell out real fast.
but Ben and Dad did look similar for that time in their lives anyway.
For a minute, yeah.
For a minute.
Sorry.
Um,
You guys shouldn't
well,
put me on here. I told you.
as the only girl growing up with all of you boys, um, I don't know, Dad always held me to a higher standard. I guess it was because I was the oldest. I don't know. But he always used to talk to me about how I had to be an example for you boys and all this. Um, but he was a
Well,
good dad. He was a real good dad. I loved him as a girl dad. He used to come and sit on my bed at night and just, tuck me in and chat with me for a minute. And I know this is a little personal, but when I got to be about like 12 years old, I was having these terrible stomach cramps, Laura. Mom thought I had the flu or needed to throw up or something. And Dad said, I think she's getting her period, is what's happening. And danged if he wasn't right. That was exactly what was happening. You'd have figured Mom would have figured that out, right?
this
No,
was this was like at age 12 you got going with that?
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I was having these terrible stomach cramps, and it happened for a few months before anything occurred. But Dad had it figured out, so I thought that was really
Well,
Well,
interesting.
he did breed
when
a
you
few cows.
Yeah,
I was going to say when you grow up in a dairy barn,
That's right. You know
you
when that stuff's
intrinsically
coming.
yeah,
intrinsically a lot about females. So
yeah. Well, that is probably true. That maybe that's why he was such a good girl dad, because even though he had all you boys, he had a special spot for me. And it was really funny because when I went on this trip with Natalie, Monica, Susan, and me, we went to Boston for Natalie's wedding. And so it was just us girls. And it was so much fun because me and Monica and Natalie finally got to pick on him for all the stuff he'd done to us all these years.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure you guys did.
oh, we did. We had so much fun, the three of us picking on him because, we weren't raised in the same household. I was 19 by the time Monica came along. So,
Yep.
but we ganged up on him that whole weekend, and he's like, even the dog's female. I can't get away from anybody. It's like I need my boys back.
He always called it the livestock. He'd come over to my house and be like, I can hear the livestock.
Anyway, so I had one little funny story that I saw on Facebook that was this cartoon that I cut out just like from the Saturday paper or whatever. And I don't remember if it was Ziggy or what it was. I don't think it was Ziggy because I remember I decoupaged it and put it on my wall because it made me laugh so much because it reminded me of Dad.
Far Side. It was a Far Side.
Okay, well, there's this guy stranded on this desert island.
Yeah, it's far side.
Okay, and there's just one little palm tree sticking up, and he's talking to somebody. I don't know if he's talking. I don't know if there's two guys there. I don't remember, but he says to the guy, "It's Monday again. What do you say we make this a real organized week?" And it just reminded me so much of Dad. I was thinking Dad would be there writing lists in the sand of this desert island where they were stranded.
This is what we're gonna do.
Yep, this is the plan for today. So people won't know this, but as we were growing up, Dad would sit us down, even in the summertime when we had school off, we'd have to sit down and make up these ridiculously long lists of all the chores we had to do that day. And we would scratch them off, and he'd say, "Now, if you get all those chores done, we can go to the Olympic swimming pool," which it was never, ever going to get all those chores done.
I know.
And so then the next morning, we would take the ones that we hadn't got done and we put them on the list for today. Oh my gosh, Dad and his freaking lists.
Oh, dude. Remember he used to tell me, he'd be like, okay, when you get done with all your chores, come ask me if you're done yet.
Yeah.
And I would be on my motorcycle down the driveway. And then later on, he'd be like, hey, you never came and asked me. And I was like, well, it's like,
I forgot.
Are you ever going to have not something for me to do?
Exactly. Sometimes you just had to escape.
That's right. I'd be on my motorcycle. I'm gone.
Yep.
That's a forgiveness for whatever. Yeah.
He did teach us all to work hard, though, I have to admit.
Yes, that's it.
And I actually do enjoy work. I read a book about the Amish, and they said that one of the things about the Amish is that they actually enjoy working. It's part of their daily lives, and that they don't dread it. And for the most part, when I'm up and around and doing stuff, I mean, there might be some things I don't enjoy, but for the most part, if I'm up and around, I enjoy it. I'll be singing or whatever. Did a lot of canning with Mom, and we used to just have some fun in the kitchen while we were canning. It wasn't drudgery. So I do love that about Mom and Dad, is that they taught us to work, and they taught us to kind of enjoy working.
Enjoy work.
Yeah.
And I miss your singing.
You miss my singing or Mom's?
Yours, both.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that was always something in my life.
Yep.
We know all the songs to all the plays from your high school
Oh,
years.
yeah. All of them.
I can sing them verbatim.
I always tell everybody, let's see, Wizard of Oz and Sound of Music. I can sing all them.
And The King and I, because you were in that day.
Yeah, King and I. Yep.
Hello, Dolly.
I can sing all that. And a lot of Kenny Rogers and Johnny Cash.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny Cash, we used to listen to him in the car in our 8-track.
And the 8-track in the van. And the Ohio State football team or the band.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before we got the van, we listened to Mom sing as we drove back and forth from Sandusky in the gold Buick. and she had quite a library of music there in her head, including the Ohio State songs. But yeah, in the fall of the year, then she would ramp up the Ohio State songs, and she would have that car vibrating when she was.
I'm not doubting it one bit.
taking us across the field there with the
yeah.
So
I can still hear her singing it. I can still hear it.
Yep.
So all right. Well, I'm going to pass it on to you, Steve.
Well, I wanted to, I think I touched on this story in a previous live, but one of the things that one of the early memories I have was when I was up at the farm, and Dad had come up from Columbus to get me and to bring me back to Columbus. I was up there with Grandma and Grandpa, obviously, and I actually hid because I didn't want to go back to Columbus with them. I wanted to stay there at the farm, and it wasn't like I was hiding, thinking they weren't going to find me, but I was kind of hiding, just making a statement, like I don't want to go back there, and I remember sitting in the back of the black VW Bug, way in the back. There was just a tiny little area there where you could.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
There.
Yep.
And I stayed back there almost all the way to Columbus. But finally, as we were kind of coming into the Beltway of Columbus, I came up and sat down in the front seat beside him, and I think I think this was one of the times when Mom was going through some of her times and whatever, and it seemed like Dad was kind of crying a little bit there, or just some emotion was kind of coming out, and I just sat there beside him, and it's like we had this silent conversation, and the conversation was like, Dad, we need to move to the farm. We just need to leave this Columbus stuff behind, and we need to move to the farm. And I'll be darned if 3 months later, in June of '73,
we up and moved.
I was already back
Yep.
there. I was already back at the farm with Grandma and Grandpa, and I finished first grade there. But I'll be darned if you guys didn't move back there. So it was like this dream of mine, that came true. I remember getting off the bus, riding the bus home after the last day of first grade there at Thompson. And that bus ride home was just, you felt like you were floating on air because you're getting out of school. And when I got off the bus, I literally felt like I floated all the way home. I was just all the way back to the farmhouse. I was just so happy that I was not going to be going back to Columbus, that you guys were going to be moving to the farm.
Aw.
And that, but I had that silent conversation there with Dad, like, Dad, we just need to, we need to give up on this Columbus stuff and just move to the farm.
That must have
And
meant a lot to him, though, the fact that you wanted to stay so bad.
well, I didn't, I was getting a spanking every day there at the end of first grade. So
I'm not surprised by any of that.
'cause I wasn't getting my wasn't getting my work
Well,
done there.
Steve, you were always such,
So,
just straight to the narrow.
straight to something. But it was kind of a funny thing there in the first grade class. My friends and I'd kind of laugh about, oh, it's time for me to go up and get my whack on the
that's
butt.
right.
And this teacher would never, it's not like she hit you hard enough to hurt you, but she was just trying to like embarrass you. And it got to the point where it was just like this funny thing that I guess I got to go
It's
get
time.
my slap on the butt.
It's that time of day.
I remember I got my first whack, and I went home that day, and Dad tore into me. He did, but still. But when I got that whack, I was like, man, that's nothing. You should go home and get hit by Dad there with his paddle.
Yeah, those fraternity and sorority paddles that were up on the wall.
Man, and they called home. I got home. I mean that whack at school that the guy gave me, I don't give a care. But still, Dad was like, "Hey, you got whacked at school. Ben, here we go over the couch." And so anyway, no, man, I will say that 1973, Steve, that my first memory, my earliest memory I can remember is standing next to Dad's record player there at the farmhouse in '73.
Oh, that's cool. I love that record player.
Yeah, I know. And so that was my earliest memory I can remember. I was standing there listening to those Walt Disney records that he had. We had all of them.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
yep.
That's where my love of theater started, was Mom and Dad's record collection. I would get it out and look because they had like Hello Dolly, and they had what's the one about the Cockney girl that, and then they make her a lady, My Fair Lady. They had My Fair Lady, they had The King and I, and just looking at those album covers and seeing those big beautiful dresses and stuff that the people were wearing, I was like, I need to get involved in this. This just looks really cool.
That's my earliest memory. It was right there, '73.
Yeah.
Yep. Next to Dad's record player. So.
That's cool.
So, it wasn't until just recently here that something dawned on me, and that is that when you guys moved to the farm there in June of '73, Mom was already pregnant with Ben.
Oh yeah, because he was born in January. That's right.
So if you back that up, Ben was conceived in Columbus.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what that means, but that's a fact. Ben was conceived there in Columbus, apparently on Garden Road. I don't know where else it would have happened. So,
I drive by that house all the time when I'm down there.
Well,
Annie
I'm
lives
pretty
quite
sure
close
they were
to there
at a
now.
festival somewhere, and they were hanging out and partying hard.
Yes, that was it. Well, I have another cute story about Dad that this just reminded me of when we were talking about the record player and me getting involved in theater. When I was 5 years old, we lived in Texas at the time because Dad was teaching at Texas A&M. Just to put some perspective on it for people who don't know our history. And Dad took me to a ballet recital, just me and him. Mom didn't even come. And I was watching all those little girls on the stage with the tutus on and dancing around. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that. So the next year they got me enrolled in dance, and I on those Hanson Family Classics, you can see me at the dance recital. There's a ballet number and a tap number. I was in both. And then I took dance until I was a sophomore in high school, from basically from first grade to my sophomore year finished. And then I quit because I was having trouble with my knees. So,
Hmm.
but dad started me off on that path with the dancing and the theater and everything. So I will be forever grateful to him for that.
Right.
Well, I remember it being a pretty big part of your life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
always. It still
yeah,
is.
I
It
know.
still is. I was
I
just
know.
up at
I remember
Anastasia
that.
2 days ago taking pictures for this lady, and I'm going to be directing Little Women in the fall. So,
Yep. No, I remember that.
yep.
One of the other things that Dad and I did when we first got to the farm there is he built those rabbit cages. We started, we'd go out, in the evening or whatever, and work for a couple hours. And at first we just had the one vertical set
And
way
then they
back in the
took up
back
the whole
corner,
backside of the barn then.
and, and then additional. Eventually, we it was built out on that entire wall there, where there were essentially 9 separate rabbit cages, and it had the trays where you would. The idea was you would unload the trays about once a week. The problem is that in reality we unloaded those trays about once a quarter. And Dave,
Well, I mean, I cleaned the
Dave,
rabbit cages. Don't get me wrong, and there was 9 of them. Yes, you were right.
Yeah, they were the whole back wall.
and Dave probably had his shot at those
Oh yeah,
trays, so he
just a
knows what
couple
I'm talking
times.
about.
Yeah.
But if you cleaned them, Dave, if you cleaned them once a
Well,
week, it was a pretty
you
reasonable
know
thing
what?
to do.
You know what? Hey, anybody who has cats, I say you scoop it every day.
Yeah.
It's a good one, but it never happens. Anyway, just keep going on with the
No.
rabbits.
So, well, I didn't, but the rabbit thing was really a lot of fun, and then you had the little huts where
Did
the
you ever
mama
see
rabbits could
Dad
go in and have the
butcher a
babies.
rabbit?
I saw Butch
Uh,
Pellis came and they butchered rabbits in the front yard.
Well, I saw Dad butcher rabbits. Yeah, I've seen him butcher rabbits. That's something. I have never butchered a rabbit. I will be honest about that. And I mean, I probably
Yeah.
could if I had to, but
Yeah.
that was something. That was something to
Yeah,
watch.
something to see. We are definitely farm kids.
That's
We know
right.
where meat comes from. That's for dang sure.
And those rabbits weren't just there for the heck of it. That's right.
Exactly.
Hey,
They
look
weren't
at
just pets.
That's right. Oh, shoot.
sure. Look at this group here. That's Eric Robinson,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Eric Robinson is in there. And I sent this to you because I think that is one of the handsomest pictures of Dad. This is
Hmm.
they had Sandusky Ward had a luau kind of thing it was just for the adults. There were no kids there. And
Right.
so here's mom. Mom looks, and I think mom looks beautiful there too. And this
Oh
picture
yeah,
reminds me.
that is one of the best. That's a really good picture. That's
Yeah,
all.
I didn't remember
It's
her
just
hair
really
ever
funny to
being
have
that
Eric's
long.
head hanging out in there.
Do you guys remember mom's hair being that long?
Well, not from a memory.
I do remember that she wore her hair like that for a
Yeah.
while. That's a great picture. It's just really funny to have Eric's head in there.
Yeah.
You need
And you
to.
know what? Real close by is Susan. Susan is in that picture. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember whether she's
Right.
on the right or on the left. I think she might be on the floor just to dad's left, like in front of Eric.
Yeah.
I think that's where Susan. So
Okay.
dad's surrounded by his wives, which is pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Well, we'll just leave that one alone.
That's-
But
Yeah.
That's a different program. Yeah.
Let's leave that one alone. So
So
anyway,
I have another funny story to tell about dad. And Steve and I touched on this in my boyfriend things with the Chris Townsend story. But this is one of the funniest things dad ever did. And now our dad is not much of a comedian. He is an Uncle Bill was the funny one. Dad was pretty much the straight guy.
you're
And he
kidding
didn't
me.
really
Uncle Bill was funny. You got to be
Uncle
kidding me.
yeah. And dad was like he just wasn't he didn't play a lot of pranks or anything like that. He just wasn't that kind of person. He was pretty straight laced. And so the one time
Yeah.
my boyfriend Chris Townsend, I was in 6th grade. Chris Townsend was in 6th grade, and I had brought him some sort of a Valentine to school for Valentine's Day, and I guess he felt guilty about it. So after school, he had his sister take him into town and he got this Russell Stover heart-shaped candy box and he drove it out to the farm. Well, I had no idea he was coming. So I was just out in the barn doing my chores and I had very long blonde hair. I call it my Marsha Brady hair face. And if I didn't put a shower cap on, when I came into the house, my hair stunk like manure. So I would always wear this shower cap over my hair while I was doing chores. And the one I happened to be wearing at the time was like kind of white with like a whole bunch of ugly polka dots, just all sorts of different colors of polka dots on it. And it was just the stupidest thing. So I had that stupid thing on, and all of a sudden, Chris Townsend starts coming from his sister's car into the granary. Fortunately, he was in the front and I was in the back. So as I saw him coming, I took that shower cap off and I threw it as hard as I could, as far away from me as I could. And it was kind of like it just as you stepped into the second part of the granary, if you went off to the right, there was like a little storage area there, like for, I don't know if we put bags of feed or whatever we put there, but there weren't any animals in there. It was just this little storage area. So I threw it into there as hard as I could. So I walked out and Chris was standing there and he gave me the cute little box of candy and we had a little moment. And as I'm standing there, Dad comes around the corner with that shower cap and he hands it to me and he goes, Cheryl, you dropped something back there. And it was just the meanest thing. And I was just like, Dad, I threw that for a purpose. I didn't want
I
anyone
love
to
it.
see it. And I just was dumbfounded that Dad would do that to me and just got a snicker out of it. He thought it was so funny.
Right.
So
There's that
that's,
sense of
I
humor.
was
yeah.
I was right there for that. That was a tender
I
moment.
was so mad at him. Oh my
I'm just
gosh.
happy to hear that you did chores.
Well, I did chores. I fed a lot of
Every
animals.
once in a while. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was a little before your time, Dave. But Cheryl did do chores, and eventually,
Yeah, faded out.
by the time you started doing chores, Cheryl was
Done with chores.
in the
I was
house.
housebound by that time because I had to feed all you idiots and do your
Oh,
laundry.
sure, I hear it. Sure,
Mhm.
whatever. Oh. Anyway, stop it.
Well, Dave, what other stories do you have to share about Dad?
Oh, about Dad, dude, he bought me my first pair of Nikes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dad did some cool stuff, man. I will say that I always felt that I was somebody, and he made me feel that way. So,
Yeah.
and then besides that, I did a lot of chores.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Dad, I couldn't have ever asked for a better dad and a more amazing person. He
Yeah.
he is he is something. That dude did, I could never stand up, and I'll always be in his shadow for the things he's done. And you're right, Cheryl, he didn't have the greatest sense of humor.
No, he really didn't. He wasn't much of a joker.
No, he didn't. But man, he was something. Yes.
But Susan did tell me the one time that, you know how Ben would always pick on Matt for talking, his ceaseless talking.
Sure.
And so they were driving home from church on a Sunday, and Susan happened to be in the car with him because I think that's how I even know this story. And so Matt was chattering away, and Ben finally had enough, and he said, "Well, give that boy a cookie." And apparently, instead of Dad saying anything mean to Ben, Susan said he was just chuckling away.
Yeah, we had a lot of good church trips. I will say
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, we went back and forth a lot to church.
Yes. Yeah.
Lordy.
So here I have a story. So this last time, Steve, being the cool older brother that he is, bought tickets for the Cleveland Browns, and Andy and I drove over, and Steve and I took Dad, and we went to the Cleveland Browns game, which was awesome, except it was so cold. It was so cold.
Right.
So we were walking along there, and there was this guy selling T-shirts outside the stadium, and they were not the very nicest T-shirts. They had MFers all over them, and the dog pound. Oh yeah, dog pound. I mean, this guy was a Cleveland Browns fan, and they had everything labeled up there. And as we walked past, I said to Steven, Steven and Andy, I go, we should buy one of those T-shirts, put it on Dad, and just send him in when we get home.
Oh my God.
We just send him
Susan would have
right.
passed out.
We'll just send him in. He won't know any better, and we'll just send him in there. He's got this T-shirt on that has all these cuss words all over it. He won't know any different. Anyway,
Oh, well, he probably would have worn it too.
he would have, because we would have put it on him. He'd been like,
Right.
"Hey, we're just sending him in."
Yeah, I love that. That's pretty funny. You maybe should have done that one.
Well, I know. I thought about it.
Yep.
I didn't have the extra $30
Right.
for a T-shirt. But anyway, that was funny.
You know, one of the things that happened to Dad there, you know, he went from a very humble situation when we left Columbus to where he was working as a janitor there at the church
Yeah.
building to back to the farm. And it was amazing how quickly so many blessings poured into our lives there, in addition to some additional younger brothers, which I know Cheryl was excited about. But I was excited to see my football team expand. But Dad also started the grain business there. I don't know exactly what year he started the grain business, but I remember the grain leg going up. I took the trip over with Grandma and Grandpa over to Indiana to pick up that first fan dryer, that corn
Uh-huh.
dryer, and but they got that all set up. But I remember early on there, I don't know if it was like the second or third year, but it was during wheat harvest. But we literally had neighbors' trucks and, you know, grain wagons, tractors with grain wagons
Out the driveway.
nearly halfway down
Yeah.
the lane.
I do
Yeah, you
remember
remember
that.
weighing those?
Because-
You remember weighing those things in on the scale with the triple beam?
Oh yeah, I always had to weigh them in and weigh them back out again.
Yeah, that was that was something
Yep.
on that big old triple beam. Yeah,
Dad, that was
something.
my very first
Yeah.
job, was being a bookkeeper for Dad. So I was probably 8th grade when I was doing it. And one time I wrote a check out to a guy, and it was supposed to be like a $10,000 check, and I put an extra zero and made it 100,000.
You should have shorted. See, you were going the wrong direction.
And fortunately, the man was honest enough to come back and show Dad and say, "I think you overpaid me." And boy, did I get a chewing out.
That's right.
Oh, come on.
That's my
You
8th
can't
grade
mention things like
daughter
that.
there.
Yes.
It's giving you the extra zero.
So, yeah, that was quite embarrassing. I felt really bad. I still feel bad about it.
But it was neat. It was neat to see that be so successful there for a period of time.
Right.
Well, it was real good for a
Um,
long time. Remember them guys rolling in? Dude, I used to dump grain down the pit. I did all that.
Yep.
Hey, Cheryl, tell us about this picture here.
All right. So this picture here, I think you've heard Steve and I discuss before, if you've been on, which you should have been. Dad took me out west. We were from Ohio, and I was wanting to go to school at a Mormon school, which is BYU at the time. And there was a 2-year college called Rick's College up in Idaho. And so Dad decided to take me out west to show me these schools to see if I might be interested in going to them. And so we brought Steve along. So it was a trip for the 3 of us, got on an airplane and went to Salt Lake City. And then we went up to Idaho first, I believe, right, Steve?
I don't know whether we went to Rexburg first or Jackson Hole on the way home or on the way back.
Yeah.
But either.
Well, we
way,
went up to
yeah.
Rexburg, and we got to see Rick's College, and we have some home movies of me and Steve there coming out of the Man-Mooring Center. And I was impressed with Rick's College. Brother Sorensen happened to be there, who ended up being my mentor. My favorite man on earth besides Dad is Brother Sorensen, and he happened to be there that day. And he showed us through the Snow Drama Center, which they,
Hello, your brother.
well, yeah, besides you.
Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So,
Okay, thank you.
and Dave, of course.
That's right. Of course.
Right. So, so Dad, Brother Sorensen showed us through the Snow Drama building, which I ended up spending a lot of time in. And so I really, really was impressed with Rick's. And then Dad and me and Steve went over to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, just because, you know, it was fun. And that's where we got this silly picture taken of us at the Western thing. And I bet this picture cost quite a bit of money, but Dad wanted to do it so we'd have this memory, and that was awesome. And then we went down to Big BYU in Provo, which I say that now because Rick's College is now BYU Idaho. It's now a 4-year school, but when I was there, it was a 2-year school. So I did end up transferring to BYU Provo. But then we went down to BYU Provo, and it was just a bit overwhelming for me coming from a town, where we had 200 kids graduating each year. Rick's College was only about 6,000 students at the time, so it was a much more manageable thing for me to go from one small town to another small town rather than jumping right into Provo. So, but that's what this picture was about. But I wanted to tell one other story about, remember how I was telling you how dad was a pretty cool dad to be raising a girl? I thought he was good. Dad took me on my very first date when I turned 16. As LDS, children were not allowed to date until we're 16. And so when I turned 16, I actually had a boyfriend, but dad wanted to take me on my first date. So we went to see the movie Xanadu, which just happened to be out, and it was Olivia Newton-John and Gene Kelly. And dad actually really loved the movie because Gene Kelly was dancing, and there was this one scene where there was a rock band and a big band, and they merged together at one point. And ELO was doing the music, and Olivia Newton-John's beautiful to look at. So who wouldn't love that? So dad actually loved the movie, and then he took me out for dinner, and he was just showing me how a young lady should be treated. He opened the doors for me and all that kind of stuff. And Martin still laughs because I'm so used to being treated like that by dad that I will walk up to a door and just stand there and wait for Martin to open it for me. And I don't even think about it. It's not like I'm trying to be rude or something. It's just what I'm used to. So I just stand in front of a door, and Martin's like,
Well, aren't you special?
I am special. I'm very special.
That's
So
right.
he was a good daddy as far as taking care of me
yeah.
as a young lady.
Well, he taught us those skills.
Yeah. I'm hoping he taught you guys to be young gentlemen. I'm sure he did.
Absolutely. He taught us those skills. And I always am that way every day.
Yeah. Mom and dad love to entertain too. They
interesting.
really love to have dinner parties and stuff. In fact, I remember one time dad taught me
Oh,
to be a waitress, and he taught me that you have to serve from one side and take away from the other side. And, he wanted me to do it just perfect.
right. A new family could not come visit or move into the Sandusky ward without mom having them over for dinner right away. I mean, that was just par for the course. I'm just the Rexburg, Idaho discussion there that you brought up is kind of interesting. In 1970, Rexburg had 8,200 residents, and that's essentially the same size as Bellevue in 1970.
Right.
In 1980, they had 11,500.
And that's close to the
today,
time I was there.
Bellevue got as high as around 10,000, but they've dropped back to about
8,000.
8,000
Yep.
now. Rexburg is 40,000.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Rexburg is 40,000 people
Yep.
today. So pretty crazy.
Yep.
Hey, here's an interesting thing. Could you ever think that you would have thought about the population in the town you live in back when you were growing up?
No, not really. But it is interesting that
It is interesting because Fort Wayne had 250,000 when I moved here in 91, 90. And they're double that now.
Wow.
Oh,
that's cool.
Well, no,
Dave, you realize my daughter Ellen is got her mission call to Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I know she's coming my way. I'm sure that's going to be fun and exciting. We'll see what happens.
So we're gonna have her come knock on your door.
That's right.
She's going to drag your butt to church.
No, she's going to come back with a bunch of stories about her dad she never knew.
Well, I kind of like that idea.
So,
hey, happy Father's Day, Steve. You're welcome.
yeah. You bet.
Well, I have one other story about Dad before we close up.
Okay.
A few weeks back, I took Dad to a play in Bellevue. Our father is not, he's got Alzheimer's, and he's not doing very well. And Susan has to put up with him a lot, and he's quite annoying. So I went up to Amherst, and I grabbed Dad, and I took him to Bellevue for, they were doing Fiddler on the Roof. And it was being directed by my friend Jimmy. So I took Dad to Fiddler on the Roof. I thought he'd like it. And it was packed house. So there was nowhere I could just be private, like take Dad up to the top where nobody was going to hear or anything. So we were kind of crammed in a whole bunch of people. And and Dad was so funny because he really liked about the first half of it, but it's quite a long show. So it was probably 2 hours into it. And he was really antsy to get out of there. And they were getting married on the stage. And he's like, what are these people doing? They're crazy. And he was just being real funny. And I looked over at him and I said, Dad, be quiet. And he wouldn't be quiet. So I finally said, Dad, I'm going to have to spank you if you don't be quiet. And
Oh yeah, that went well, did
he started giggling. He thought that was so funny. And I was able to keep him quiet for about another 5 minutes until intermission. And then I left with him because I knew he wasn't going to make it through another half. So
Right.
as we go out and we're getting into the car, when we went to Bellevue, he was sitting in the back seat because Martin was in the front seat with me. So when we come back out, Dad's hopping in the front seat. So he's getting in the passenger side and I'm driving, obviously. And as he gets in, he notices that my floor mats are filthy. And the reason they're filthy is because when Martin was on strike, he had to be out in this real
it?
muddy parking
Sure,
lot.
I just want to hear all about that.
Yeah, well, so anyway, so my floor mats, they're those plastic ones that you can rinse off, but are rubber. So his dad got in there, he said, Cheryl, I think I'd like to buy you some new floor mats. And it was just making me laugh because I'm like, his memory is completely gone, but he knows he likes neat and tidy. He still remembers
Oh,
that.
always, dude, man,
Yes.
that guy, white glove treatment everywhere, man, and that's just the way it worked.
Yeah, he tricked me one time. He told me if I get everything dusted, then he'd give me some prize or something. So I dusted so hard. And he comes in the house and he is doing the white glove test, literally. And he puts his hand above the door frame and gets dust off of
Right.
there. Oh my gosh, I was so
You
mad at
lost.
him.
You lost. you,
So he would,
you,
like I would ever think
you
to
lost.
stand on a chair and dust the door frame.
No, you're supposed to get that done. See?
I know. He was so mean to me.
That's
But
right.
anyway,
So,
that's our dad.
Yes.
hey, Cheryl, who do you have on schedule for tomorrow night?
I know we're heading into college years, so I was thinking I might do John Doria.
Okay. All right. And I'll get to be, I'll have some stories around that
Yeah,
one.
I'm sure you will.
I remember the name, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I have some interesting stories about John, lots of them. So that's
Well, Dave, we got to get you on another time with Aaron
Oh boy.
and let you and Aaron share some stories together.
All
So,
right.
yeah, Aaron listens to our program a lot. He might even be on tonight. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure he's laughing
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
no,
probably.
Aaron doesn't miss this. This is
Hey.
what keeps him alive and living.
Hey, I had a great weekend. Just so you guys know, I went to I had the Juneteenth off, so I went to Hoagland Days and hit the tent there, and they had a really good decade decided band, and they did 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and they did each set. It was really good, and it was a lot of fun. And then yesterday I went to Soul Fest and saw about 6 other bands. I saw Tone Junkies, Whale Hounds, really good stuff. You guys would have loved it.
That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it was really good. And at the Soul Fest there, they have the fire people who eat fire, and they got these cool people who just do wild things. That's
That
all I
sounds
got.
cool.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
have video. I'll show you sometime.
All right.
All right. So hey, you know what?
Well, Dave,
Happy Father's Day to Dad, man. That dude is
He's a legend.
unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable. If you look back on his life, I couldn't even imagine.
I know. He was amazing.
Yes.
We were lucky to have him for our father. That's probably why we're all so excellent.
I guess Air Force officer. I mean, come on.
Yep.
Really? Yeah.
Between him and mom, we have a lot of good genetics for smarts. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. Well.
so,
All right. We got to let Steve get out.
All right.
all right. Hey, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with everybody tomorrow
Sounds
night.
good. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Love you.